भक्ताय नमो नमो विष्णुपादाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत नारायण इति नाम श्री कृष्ण लीला कथाने सुधाक्षमौदार्य माधुर्य गुणैश्चयुक्तं वरं वरेण्यं पुरुषमान्तं नारायणं त्वं त्रिदण्डीनां भक्तशिरोमणिं च श्रीकृष्णपादाब्जोदयकमलि चैतन्यलीलामृतसारसारं नारायणं त्वं सततं प्रपद्ये नमामि नारायण पादपङ्कजं करोमि नारायण पूजनं सदा वदामि नारायण नाम निर्मलं स्मरामि नारायण तत्त्वमव्ययम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे हरे हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल Let me offer millions of obeisances at the lotus feet of our Gurudev, Bhanaga Guru Bhagya. Nama Nishta Santa Sipare Prabhuchana Pavanta Kuti Dandava. All present, past, future Vaishnavas at our Dandava. Nam Vancha Kalpataru Vyasya Krupasindu Vacha. Patitanam Pavanidhyo Vaishnaveshu Namo Namaha. This is Purushottama Mass, month of Purushottama. Govardhanadaram Vande Gopala Gopalupina. Gokulosam Ishanam Govindam Gopika Priya. Gopalupinam Gopika Priya. Gopalupinam in the form of Gopa covered. very dear to gopis. Such a exaltation, we worship. And Purushottama, foremost among all personalities. This month is also not different from the Purushottama. Lord has blessed. I am going to give all my quality. Make him non different from me. Most prominent month. He is the leader of all the months. So, and no Nishkama, no aparadhas to be counted. Wow, what an amazing. So we are hearing from Ruhut Bhagavatam. Ruhut Bhagavatam. This scripture talks about the qualities of that great personality. Yuval Kishore. One who is Goparupina and who is dear to Gopika. Gopika. So we two canto, first canto is question. Who is the foremost recipient of Krishna's mercy? Unequivocally, Narada, starting from Brahmana in Prayag to South Indian king, Indra, Brahma, Shiva, Prahlad, Hanuman, Pandavas, Yadavas, Uddhava, and Swayam Sri Krishna himself established who it is. These are. So the second part, Putra is asking question to his son, dear son. Oh, my dear son. I've heard Krishna is so merciful, Magnanima. He even gives Putana to Golok. Putana came to kill him. What about Mother Yashoda so lovingly treated him? What kind of place will he give? Will he give the same Vaikunta? Then it is painful for me. It is unfair. Gopis, like yeah, Krishna himself feels um, indebted forever. He's telling the queens of Dwarka, I have no intention of marrying at all. But Rukmini, she was going to give up her life if I don't marry. So I have to marry. So other queens also like that. And Rukmini herself says that we are not able to serve the way gopis have done. Therefore, I thought Krishna himself fails. He says, why? I don't know whether to go there or not to go there. Even if I go there, their love is so deep, so they anticipate separation from me, so they they'll be much more deeper. If I even if I so Krishna himself feels helpless. Their love is so much. So cannot. Hey, Yashoda Maya, wow, so much love. Krishna. When Putana was carrying away baby Krishna, She felt her whole become like whole like a stone. No breath, no motion. Stone. Only when Krishna was brought back and put on her lap and then touching Krishna, gradually she recovered. Possible. Like that, they are beyond any words. Pretty much. So Uttara is telling if Mother Yashoda get the same destination as other, it's not fair. I don't believe so. So you please clarify this. So that's when Sukadeva Goswami, the Parikshit Maharaj, he started the second part to answer Mother Uttara's question. That is Golok Mahatma, Goloka Mahatma, glories of all. So this starts with this another history where Gopakumara going from different places. So this can as renunciation, jnana. Uh, so we finish the renunciation today. Uh, so we will cover this. Uh, very interesting jnana. This what it does is it's really amazing scripture because it's like Madhurya Kadambini. Huh? Madhurya Kadambini. Generally we say bhakti meaning what? Oh, bhakti, devotion. But it gives you different levels. Adho Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. Each level, how to judge, how to measure, how to gauge ourselves huh, in bhakti. So this scripture also seems like gives you like many people want to go to heavenly planet. Swarga. And so this Gopkumar goes there. And we will see that he becomes Indra also. By the power of Gopal, you know, himself and worshipping. Then he was not happy. Huh? So this is what happens. So he says, this is how it begins. It's very nice. You know? How he, so if you knowing all this, what is in each Swarga, heavenly planet, then Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, then Brahmaloka, Satyaloka, and other avarna, you will get a clear picture what is the whole. Then you will not have any doubt or anything. Our destination or understanding is really breathtaking picture. So kindly with us, it may not get one time, two, three, four, 5 times, get more clear and clear. So Gopakumara is saying, Gopakumara telling this Brahmana Matra. Matra was going, Brahmana going here and there and has come to Mathura over that. And he's trying to convince him. After convincing, he said, I will tell my own path. I should not be telling, but for this sake, that's the only way you will understand. So he is revealing his what he went through. Uh, it is very amazing for everyone. So he tells him, Oh, topmost Brahmana of Mathura. Upon reaching Mathura, I bathed at Vishram Ghat and then continued on to Vrindavan. There I freely wandered about Govardhan and other places as I desired, maintaining my life by drinking the nectar of the cows, concealing my presence from my kinsmen, and chanting my mantra with devotion. I happily passed some days there. After some time, an intense eagerness arose within me to see Sri Jagadisha as I did before. Huh? Jagannath. So, I hope, yeah, we did that also. Because of this desire, Sri Vrindavan seemed wide, and all I could think of was Purushottam Kshetra. I- Because I was unable to see Jagannath, I became anxious. But I was also distressed at heart to leave Vraja. In this anguished condition, I proceeded toward the land of Utkala, Purushottam Kshetra, to have Jagannath Darshana. On the way by the bank of Sri Ganga, I saw some Brahmanas engaged in the prescribed religious duties on the way to Jagannath, on the bank of Ganga. From those Brahmanas who were learned in many scriptures, I heard something completely new. What is that? That in the firmament above earth, there is a place called Swarga where the demigods reside, heavenly planet where demigods reside. He heard this first time from the Brahmanas. So that heaven, magnificently decorated with rows and rows of celestial airships, is free from all defects such as fear, distress, old age, disease, and death. That to Swarga, heavenly planet, which is pervaded by the greatest happiness, can be attained only by exceptionally pious deeds. It is ruled by Indra Deva, the elder brother of Sri Jagadisha. There are subterranean heavens such as Patala, Bila Swarga. See, there are three Swarga. One is Divya Swarga, that is heavenly planet on top. The other one is Bila Swarga, lower planets, hmm, which are beautified by Sri Krishna's different manifestations, like Vishnu and Shesha. In addition, there are heavens on earth, Bhauma Swarga, located in various tracts of land and island where there are always great festivals for the worship of Sri Krishna in many different forms. Like Bhauma Swarga, there are places. However, because the celestial heaven, Divya Swarga, is resplendently situated above these two other heavens, it is superior in quality. Then Sri Jagadisha personally resides in the Divya Swarga as the son of Aditi. His name is Upendra Vamanadeva and he is celebrated for his marvelous glories. When Narmuni went to heavenly planet, he talks about Indra, you know, and then Upendra. There, Bhagavan Sri Upendra climbs on the back of Garuda, the lord of the birds, and enjoys pastimes of traveling here and there. He kills troublesome demons and with enchanting activities and sweet words. He perpetually delights the demigods, who worship him as their very own brother. Hearing all these wonderful pastimes from those Brahmanas made me anxious to see Bhagavan Sri Upendra. I had a desire to see Upendra. They are talking Upendra. Want to see. With this goal in mind, I began to chant the mantra of my worshipable deity with great determination. Gopal mantra I started chanting with this goal. I want to go to heaven, Swarga, to have audience with Upendra. And how amazing! Very soon an aeroplane came from Swarga. I joyfully climbed aboard and went to that celestial realm. See, powerful Gopal mantra. Went to Swarga. There I saw the very same Sri Vishnu whose deity form I had previously seen in the king's palace on the bank of Ganga, surrounded by the demigods in every direction and sitting on the charming throne of Garuda's shoulders. The Lord manifested himself as the concentrated embodiment of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. Just in front of the Lord, Sri Narada was worshipping him by singing sweetly and playing his veena. You know, Kumar saw this. Finally, I attained the object of my desire. Seeing my most worshipable Lord, I consider my life successful. From a distance, I offered him prostrated obeisances repeatedly and worshipped him with praise. Bhagavan Sri Upendra then called me to him with kind and affectionate words. Then Bhagavan Sri Upendra told me, "Oh, my dear son of Gopala, Gopal, you have done very well by coming here. Now, there is no need of bowing down anymore. Do not be afraid of my opulence. Come to me." On Sri Upendra's order, Devaraj Indra sent some demigods who respectfully led me to him and seated me with care. The demigod then provided me a residence in the Nandana forest, where they offered me heavenly nectar and all the other celestial refreshments that they enjoy. Partaking of these heavenly pleasures filled me with delight and left me feeling completely satisfied. I noticed that this realm was free from fear, distress, disease, old age, death, bereavement, and so on. There were also some defects in Swarga, but I paid them no heed because I was overwhelmed by the bliss of seeing Sri Bhagavan, offering parijata flowers and all the other opulences of Swarga. Sri Indra daily worshipped Bhagavan, Sri Upendra, as his brother, master, and protector, with affection, reverence, and respect. As his brother, uh, with affection, as master, reverence, protector, with respect. You know. Then rugged all. I began to think, oh, Indra is extremely fortunate. With his own hands, Sri Vishnu has vanquished all the demons and bestowed upon him the opulence of the three worlds, which are now free from all disturbances. Moreover, Indra worships Sri Bhagavan with heavenly gifts that Lord personally accepts. A desire then arose in my heart, and I pondered. Can I also worship Sri Bhagavan as Indra does? As Indra does. Will Sri Bhagavan mercifully satisfy my desire? Accepting whatever might happen, I remained there, chanting my mantra with this aspiration. Still kept on chanting Gopal mantra. Then, after some time, it so happened that Indra forced himself upon the wife of a great sage. See, Indra, even though Lord is there, he still, you see, he could not control his senses. He, you know, he had a illicit thing with the wife of a great sage. Out of embarrassment and fear of being cursed, Indra went into hiding. So, Indra has done so many other times. First time. He had done previously with the wives of other rishis, including Deva Sharma Gautama. Just as he had once hidden in a lotus stem in Manasarovara out of shame and in fear of being cursed, Indra effectively hid himself again. So he ran away. The demigods searched relentlessly, but to no avail. In the absence of their ruler, the three worlds were overrun with disturbances perpetrated by demons and others. Then, ordered by Sri Vishnu and directed by their Guru Brahaspati, the demigods appointed me to the post of Indra. Kumar became Indra. Mother Aditi and Indra's other well-wishers also approved of this. So his desire was fulfilled. Worshipped Lord as a what Indra did. Thereafter I showed proper respect to Aditi, Sachi and Brahmanas, like Brahaspati. And throughout the three worlds, I preach pure devotional service to Sri Vishnu with my full energy. See, he preached. He got the post of Indra. Then, in the past, when I received the kingdom, in Jagannath Puri also became a king. I disregarded worldly possessions due to the potency of bhakti. Similarly, although I was now established on the royal throne, I did not reside in Indra's capital, but rather chose to live like a renunciant in the Nandana forest. As a result of chanting my mantra, I obtained direct darshan of Sri Vishnu and the kingdom of heaven. But even then, I did not give up chanting my mantra. To do so would have been gross ingratitude on my part. And even though I was staying in Nandana Karana, I could not forget my sweet memories of Raja. The anguish I felt in separation from Raja made me so unhappy that gradually my face began to dry up. Seeing my condition, Sri Jagadishwara himself stroked me many times with his lotus hand and sprinkled me with the nectar of his wonderful words. Regarding me as his elder brother and thus wanting to satisfy me, Bhagwan Sri Upendra began to respectfully accept and eat the food I offered him. Having obtained mercy in the form of touch of his hand, I forgot all the distress of my separation from Raja. I worshipped him in an unprecedented way, caressing him affectionately as my younger brother, and thus pleased him. Bhagavan Sri Upendra pacified me in this way and then left for his own abode. I did not know where he lived, and so I could not always see him while I was in Swarga. Gopakumara had received mercy from Bhagavan Sri Upendra, but he still aspired for more, contemplating going elsewhere to fulfill this desire. He became indifferent to living in Swarga. Gopakumara says, Bhagavan Sri Upendra arranged for me to worship him on a grand scale with all the opulence of the three worlds. And he arranged for me to propagate his devotional service throughout the three worlds. He vanquished any pride I had in receiving the post of Indra. What is more, by touching me with his lotus hands, he relieved the extreme pain I was feeling in separation from Raja and filled me with happiness. He completely pacified my mind and then returned to his own abode. Whether this abode was Svetadipa, Dhruvaloka, or Vaikuntha I could not say. Once he left, no one, including myself, could receive his direct darshan. And when Sri Bhagavan disappeared, Sri Lakshmi Devi would also vanish. The Matra Brahman might ask him, wait a minute, the Lord is the concentrated embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, and he is omnipresent. Therefore, he can be seen everywhere. How then can he disappear? So, in reply, Gopakumar is what? Uh, to be seen, he said, O best of the Matra Brahmana, put aside your doubt. Although the personality of Godhead is present everywhere, material eyes cannot perceive him. It is therefore very difficult to have his direct darshana. Only rarely can some fortunate living entity achieve it. But when I could not see Sri Upendra, I again became distressed and could not maintain my steadfastness. So I thought to go to Nilachala Kshetra to see the Lord of Nilachala, who permanently resides there, out of his unwavering affection for those who take shelter of him. How wonderful is the mercy of Sri Bhagavan. Seeing my condition from time to time, he would appear before me and accept my offerings with his own hand and pacify me with sweet words. Thus my lamentation and anguish would be soothed, and the sorrow I would feed in anticipation of imminent separation from him would disappear. So, O Brahmana, thus I obtained the position of Indra, and I passed the one celestial year happily, one celestial year, equivalent to 360 years early year. Then one day, unexpectedly, what happened? One year he was there, serving us. Then something happened unexpectedly. Rugu and other great sages from Maharloka mercifully stopped in Swarga on their way to earth. They were on a mission to purify with the touch of their lotus feet the holy places that had been contaminated by contact with heinous sinners. When And Kumar is he is now Indra. I was astounded to see the demigod, the sages and preceptor, Brihaspati, and even Sri Vishnu himself worship those Maharshis with great reverence. I saw, knew there, and was always immersed in the bliss of serving Sri Vishnu. So I did not know proper etiquette, but upon being directed by Guru Brihaspati and my other superiors, I duly worshipped those Maharshis. Then Bhrigu and the other great sages greeted me with delight and blessed me, and then they continued on their journey. Meanwhile, Bhagavan Sri Upendra also disappeared. I then questioned the demigods. He is asking question. You are demigods worshipable by mankind. But who are these great sages whom you worship? And Bhrigu Rishi and they came, demigods also worshipped him. So who is he? Where he is coming from? Why are they so glorious? Where do these powerful effulgence Maharshis live? The demigods were full of pride and their hearts were afflicted by envy. You see, even though heaven is so much all these things, but it's still people, demigods have full of pride and their hearts were pride meaning afflicted by envy. They were embarrassed to describe the Maharshis' inherent superiority and remained silent. They don't even glorify. Then Sri Brihaspati, however, did reply. Brihaspati is the Guru of uh, demigod. He replied. He says, so uh, the Brihaspati said, O king of the demigods, radiantly situated above Swarga is Maharloka, which is attained by those who perform pious deeds. Only those who are qualified to receive liberation reside there. Even when three worlds are annihilated at the time of the cosmic dissolution, Maharloka is not destroyed. As the happiness of Indra is millions of times greater than that of an earthly emperor, so the happiness of a Prajapati is millions of times greater than that of Indra. Those who are wise have understood this. Oh Krishna, endowed with such immense pleasure, Dhruvu and the other great sages reside in Maharloka, where at every moment they relish directly worshipping Yagneshwara Prabhu, the Lord of sacrifice, by performing various sacrifices. Draupadi said, served by that happiness, the great sages reside joyfully in Maharloka. Sometimes, though they also travel elsewhere for special purposes, what more can I say about their happiness? Yagneshwara, who is manifest in Maharloka, is worshipped by the execution of five sacrifices that are far more magnificent than the sacrifice performed in all three worlds. The Supreme Lord, the predominating deity of sacrifices, who bestows their results, appears everywhere in Maharloka. The residents of that realm directly worship him with these grand yajnas. Sri Gopakumara said, O Brahmana, simply by hearing this wonderful narration from Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods, I lost interest in the post of Indra. See, previously he desired to become Indra, now he is understanding the good. Now he wants to be Yagneshwara, huh, in Maharloka. So I lost interest in the post of Indra and desired to see Yagneshwara, Bhagavan. He who is worshipped by the great sages such as Bhrigu. So after hearing the extraordinary words of spiritual preceptor of demigod Brihaspati, I lost all interest in being the king of heavens and developed a desire to see Vigneshwara. Humans adore the demigods, who in turn venerate the great sages. And the worshipable Lord of these sages is the Supreme Lord Vigneshwara. It stands to reason then that Sri Yagneshwara must be endowed with exceptional glories. I had personally experienced that Sri Bhagavan in Swarga is sweeter and more opulent than his manifestation on earth. Therefore, I concluded that the Lord's form in Maharloka must possess some special sweetness in comparison with his own form in heaven. So it was sensible that I go to Maharloka to have darshan of that form. So Gopkumara the desire to go to Maharloka. Then what it does? He with fixed mind, making this idea my conscious intention. Think, Sankalpa. I began to chant my mantra, and by that the power of this chanting, very soon a celestial airship appeared. I climbed aboard and was transported to Maharloka, where I witnessed the wonders of that realm. See, Gopakumara. Yeah. అదే మీరు అప్పుడు లేదు కదా ఉదయం 4 గంటలకు బయలుదేరి సరే సరేనా హరే కృష్ణ ఓకే హరే కృష్ణ హరే గోవింద హరే కృష్ణ So, and now he's describing Gopakumara how the Maharloka looks like. The faultless and indescribable happiness, opulence, and worship I witnessed there are not to be found anywhere else in the free world. Now he says why Maharloka is special. So we should understand. In Maharloka, Gopakumara says, I witnessed unalloyed happiness and opulence, and worship the likes of which I had not seen anywhere in Bhuva and Swarga. The happiness of Maharloka is faultless for the following reason. Because Maharloka escapes destruction when the three worlds are annihilated at the end of the day of Brahma. The happiness there never ends. See, in Swarga, within one day of Brahma, 14 times. Uh, uh, yeah, 14 times Indra comes and goes. Uh, 14 Indra. So, in Maharloka, is not like that. Happiness never, there never ends. In particular, the happiness of Maharloka is free from the defect of rivalry. Maharloka is free from the thoughts of rivalry and envy, which are present in Swarga and which are the cause of all unhappiness. So distress is absent there. Demigods have rivalry and envy. Huh? The happiness of Maharloka is equally distributed. Everyone in Maharloka has equal rights to the opulence of that realm. Because no one has more or less than anyone else, and there is no other disparity. Devotional service performed there is not selfishly motivated, as it is on earth, and thus it may be termed unconditional. There, thousands of great sages absorbed in loving devotion to Bhagavan were conducting lavish fire sacrifices under Bhrugu's leadership. Yagneshwara, effulgent with sacred flames, was personally manifesting from the sacrifices and enjoying the pastimes of accepting the offering. As radiant as millions of suns, the Yajnamurti, the personification of sacrifice, enchanted the world with his effulgent form. With his two outstretched arms, he accepted the oblations and fulfilled the worshipper's heartfelt desire. The astonishing majesty of Sri Agneswara filled me with awe and great delight. I bowed down before him. Seeing this, Agneswara called to me with tender and compassionate words, and he gave me his Mahaprasad remnant with his own hand. By Sri Jagadisha's boundless mercy, I felt unimaginable joy, and my earnings for his darshana were unlimitedly satisfied. Wandering about the with those kind-hearted sages, I saw that in every house the Lord of the universe was being worshipped in the same manner. Thus I received immense mercy from Bhagavan Vigneshwara and began to consider myself successful in every way. I was residing there in perfect happiness, where one day the Mahasi spoke to me. Mahasi spoke to him, this Gopala. He's staying for now for some time. So they are saying, "Oh, great Gopakumara, you are the son of a Vaishya. We are granting you Brahmanical status. Quickly accept it by the influence of this abode." So Maharshi said to Gopakumara, "Oh Gopakumara, you are the son of a Vaishya, mercantile. Huh? Like they are taking care of the cows, right? Covered man. So the Maharshi said, we are granting you Brahmanical status. Quickly accept it. By the influence of this abode, one naturally developed the qualities of a Brahmana. If you are here long time, you will get the qualities of a Brahmana. For a long time, you have earned to see Agneshwara, Sri Jagadisha. Now become a Maharshi like us and constantly see and worship him. Sri Gopakumara says, "Oh, Mathura Brahmana, hearing this, I thought there is great happiness in being a Vaishya, because then I can serve both my Lord and his Brahmana devotees and receive unlimited delight." Those Maharshis were solely dedicated to their fire sacrifice and had no other interest in life. I thought that if I agreed to their personal proposal and accept the status of a Brahmana, I would inevitably become remiss in chanting mantra my divine master had taught me. It would not be right to neglect a mantra that had already proven itself by bestowing such great so quickly wisdom and results, bestowing such good results so quickly. Therefore, I did not accept the status of a Brahmana and humbly supplicated the Maharshis. They relented and began to honor me as before. Therefore, I also resided in Maharloka, enjoying boundless happiness as they did. Maharloka is free from even a trace of the defects found on Swarga, such as lamentation and fear. There, for the pleasure of Sri Agneshwara, only grand festival of fire and sacrifice are celebrated. No other sense enjoyment exists. So, Sri Gopakumara says, the quality of happiness in Maharloka is superior to that on Swargaloka. Unlike the heaven, Maharloka is free from rivalry, envy, lust, anger, and madness, and other anomalies. There, one is not subject to censor, contempt, and misery influence mind. Now, what is happening is the at the time of cosmic inundation, and one does not fear occurrences such as falling down from the position. Therefore, the Maharshis have no interest in anything but the worship of Bhagavan. Nothing but festivals of free sacrifice that are performed for the pleasure of Bhagavan. So, किंतु यज्ञ समाप्तौ च दुःखम अंतहिते प्रभु. However, as soon as the sacrifice was over, Sri Yagneshwara would disappear, leaving me one great, grief-stricken. Thus, when he would reappear at the start of another fire sacrifice, all my distress would be cast away. At the end of 1000 Chaturya, 1000 Chaturya cycles of 4 ages, which equal one day of Brahma, a cosmic annihilation would take place, consuming the three worlds with fire and causing even Maharloka to become hot. The scorching heat would force the great sages to move to Janaloka. So, on Janaloka, as if it were night, no fire sacrifice was performed. Consequently, there was no darshan of Sri Yagneshwara. For me, the burning heat of not seeing him was greater than the fire of devastation. In order to relieve the fever of separation from Bhagavan, I long to go to Sri Purushottam Kshetra, which in the shade of the imperishable banyan tree. I could continuously see Jagannath Deva, despite being in Maharloka, when I would chant my mantra in a solitary place as before, I would become aggrieved by the desire to see the Vrajabhumi, this land of Raja. However, Bhagavan Sri Yagneshwara, that ocean of mercy, would then appear, cordially summoning. He would affectionately accept my offerings, which would cause all my anguish to be mitigated, just as the rising sun dissipates the darkness. Even during the night, just the hope of seeing him again would relieve my distress. Once, what happened, this is going on. Once a dazzling, effulgent person arrived there from a higher planet. He approached like a, once a dazzlingly effulgent person arrived there from highest planet. He appeared like a completely naked 5-year-old boy who came, uh, Kumar. Seeing that great personality who was observed in meditation, the Maharshis abandoned their sacrificial rituals and prostrated themselves before him with loving devotion. They worshipped him in a manner equal to their. So when Sanat Kumar came there, Mahaloka, these great sages were worshipping their sacrificial rituals. They stopped it, they came and prostrated before him. With loving devotion, they worshipped him in a manner equal to their worship of Yagneshwara. So Gopakumara saw this. After the departure of that child who wanders at will, I asked the great sages, who are that boy? Where does he live? Why did you worship him? Then the Maharshis replied, his name is Sanat Kumara and he is the eldest and most exalted of all of us. He is the original preceptor of those who are self-satisfied. Atma Raman, those whose desires have been satiated. Atma Kama, self-satisfied and desires have been satiated. Apta Kama. And and he maintains a powerful lifelong celibacy. He is celibacy. Sanat Kumar. Above this Maurloka is Janaloka, and above that is Tapoloka. It is there that he resides with his three brothers, who, like him, are masters of yoga. Tapoloka is attained only by observing a lifelong celibacy, and it's a realm that is always full of auspiciousness, tranquility, and bliss. The happiness that of lifelong celibate residents enjoys in Tapoloka is billions of times superior to the happiness of the Prajapatis in Mahaloka. As Sri Yagneshwara is worshipable by everyone, Sri Sanat Kumara is also worshipable. He is an incarnation of Sri Bhagavan and is an exalted Vaishnava. As such, he is to be worshipped, especially by householders like us. We have abandoned even our sacrificial rituals to worship him. So, Sri Gopakumara said, hearing this, I wondered what kind of happiness is found in Tapoloka. How many great sages like Sanat Kumara lived there, and which form of the Lord do they worship? Then, eager to see that manifestation of Bhagavan, I began to chant my mantra with one pointed attention. By the potency of japa, I also became as supremely effulgent as Sanat Kumara and swiftly reached Tapoloka. Ha! He reached Tapoloka. There I again saw Sanat Kumara as well as Sriman Sanaka, Sanandana, and fourth Kumara, Sanatana. I saw that the residents of Tapoloka were honoring those incarnations of Bhagavan, Sanaka and his brother, who were happily conversing among themselves. However, ignorant as I was, I could not understand that blissful discussion. What Sanaka and his brothers were conversing. Although the four Kumaras did not have the characteristic attributes of Bhagavan, still great euphoria spontaneously filled my heart whenever I saw them. When Sanaka and the other masters of yoga were devoted to meditation, went to their respective dhammasas, I thought to myself, here also, just as in Swarga, Bhagavan must be present somewhere in a manifest form. Thus I began to wander about in search of him. I wandered everywhere, but I did not find Sri Jagannath, Jagadishwara. Having no other recourse, I inquired from the great sages, but they did not reply. Although I even prostrated myself before them and offered prayer, they still did not even look at me. Although the sages would occasionally have loving discussion with one another or would worship Bhagavan, they were virtually always absorbed in samadhi. They were celebrate, resolute celibates, wholly self-satisfied with all their desires fulfilled, and they were served by mystic perfection like anima. There, my ardent desire for darshan of Bhagavan was not fulfilled. Indeed, by the influence of the association of the self-satisfied sages, it actually began to wane. Nevertheless, I remained in Tapoloka, being impressed by the great power of those sages. I could go nowhere else. At the time, out of reverence for the words of my Guru, and because I had clearly experienced the benefit of my mantra, I did not abandon my chanting. Due to the glorious nature of that realm, I continuously chanted my mantra. My attachment, seeing the Lord, began to increase. The bliss and joy I would experience in my heart made the pleasure of being with Sanaka and others sages appear vapid. When my attachment became overwhelming, it sparked in me the desire to go to Nilachal to see the eternally manifest Sri Jagannatha Deva. Understanding my intention, the omniscient sage Sri Vipalayana came to me. When my attachment became overwhelming, it sparked in me the desire to go to Nilachal to see the eternally manifest Sri Jagannath Deva. Understanding my intention, the omniscient sage Sri Vipalayana came to me. Sri Vipalayana said, why do you want to leave this exalted realm and go elsewhere? Why do you roam about trying to see the Supreme Lord who cannot be seen with material eyes? Fix your mind in deep meditation because it is by meditation alone that can one see Parameshwara. He is everywhere within and without, but by the potency of Samadhi you will see him as if directly before you in person. Vasudeva, the super soul and presiding deity of consciousness, he is Satchidananda Vigraha, embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He only appears in a consciousness that has been completely cleansed of the So, he only appears in a consciousness that has been completely cleansed of the contaminations of material urges and is surcharged with Vishuddha Sattva, pure spiritual goodness. There is no other way to see him. So, do not think that meditation is the only activity of the mind. It is the mind that facilitates direct vision of Sri Hari through the eyes. This is because when Bhagavan manifests in one's heart, the mind can do nothing but think of it. Thus, the eyes actually see only through the faculty of the mind. When joy arises in the mind, all the senses automatically become pleased. The functions of the eyes and other senses are accomplished by the mind. So, when the mind is happy, all the senses are happy. Without the mind's activity, the functions of the senses are futile. For as long as the mind does not experience the activities of the senses, they are as if never performed. Therefore, actual darshan of Sri Bhagavan takes place when he manifests in this supremely pure consciousness of the mind and heart. It is true that sometimes the Lord, out by special affection for his devotees, appear to their external eyes. His hour is really made visible by the eyes of knowledge. Only by the compassion of Sri Bhagavan does the living being feel that he has received darshana with his eyes. Because nothing is impossible for Sri Bhagavan, by his Karunya Shakti, his mercy potency sometimes appears to external vision. Even so, the joy of this darshan is transmitted by the mind alone, which is its source. Even after Sri Bhagavan disappeared, the bliss of seeing him continues to radiate in one's mind in various forms. Although the eyes have seen the Lord, the joy of that vision belongs to the mind. Therefore, darshan of Bhagavan is achieved by the mind, which is the matchless receptacle for experience the happiness of this. By the mercy of Sri Bhagavan and the happiness within the mind caused by seeing him increases further and further, the mind expands to the magnitude of that joy. No external senses can expand like the mind. Seeing Bhagavan in one's own meditation is like seeing him directly. And seen in meditation, he bestows special mercy by giving boons and blessings. The lotus born Brahma is evidence of this. Direct darshan of Sri Bhagavan is a source of delight for all the Lord's devotees, but not for those without devotion. In spite of seeing the Lord personally, some have felt fear, and Duryodhana and others developed wickedness in their hearts. Sri Narayana epitomizes all beauty is form, the essence of concentrated bliss, radiates unlimited loveliness. The luster and sweetness of his magnificent form drowns the senses of one's beholding them in an ocean of bliss. Yet, even though wicked demons like Madhu and Kaitava saw this form of the Lord, yet even though wicked demons like Madhu and Kaitava saw this form of the Lord in person, they still could not give up their heinous nature, the root of all sufferings. Sri Narayana, who delights the world, sometimes hides his nature from non-devotees to reveal the glories of bhakti and to give pleasure to his devotees. He is the Supreme Lord, so it is not amazing that he can make even the impossible possible. Of the nine processes of bhakti, smarana or remembrance is the foremost because only through remembrance can the function of the mind, the best of the senses, be offered to Sri Bhagavan. But of course, Shravana Kirtana, important, and Marana. Later on, it will be made clear. And the mind is fixed. Prema Bhakti, which is more confidential than the practice of knowledge and renunciation, continuously manifests in the heart of the practitioner according to his natural predilection. That which is the object of attainment of an infinite number of disciplines, which is even superior to the worship of Bhagavan, the topmost of all goals, and which is the unparalleled means to control the supremely independent Lord. That is prema. It can be obtained only by the mercy of Bhagavan and not by one's own endeavors. Therefore, being saturated with the wonderful sweetness of paramount bliss, it is an incomparable. So, its glories are indescribable. Prema is a specific transformation of the function of consciousness that arises only when one's consciousness is transcendently pure. See, this is the catch. So that's why if you are if you consider concentrating the mind to be too arduous, arduous, or if you desire to fulfill the purpose of your life by directly seeing Sri Bhagavan, then go to Gandhamadana mountain in Bharatavarsha, where you can have darshan of Sri Narayana, the Supreme Lord of this planet. Oh, Tapaloka, being fixed in Samadhi, we see Him everywhere, within and without, and never feel pangs of separation from Him. Aware of our capabilities, The Lord has gone to Bharatavarsha in order to educate and benefit the people of the world. He is performing severe austerities there, having taken the form of a guru of weaponry, dressed as a brahmachari with matted locks. Sri Gopakumara said, O Brahmana, as I prepared to go to Gandhamadana mountain, the four sages led by Sanaka understood the restlessness of my heart and said, Gopakumara, you can see Sri Bhagavan right here. Upon which they then Sanaka, who is chief among the four Kumaras, assumed the form of Narayan. Another exhibited the form of Vishnu. Another took the form of Vishwara. And the last manifested in the form of Narasimha and many different forms of Bhagavan. Seeing this astonishing sight, I began trembling in fear. I offered obeisances to them with folded hands and said, "Oh, Deenavastala, O you who are affectionate to the fallen, I have committed a great offense. Please forgive me." Then Sanaka and his brothers touched my head, and by the potency of the touch, I became. Then Sanaka and his brothers touched my head, and by the potency of that touch, I became absorbed in samadhi. In that state, too, I directly saw all the same forms of Sri Vishnu that I had just seen. And even after my samadhi broke by the influence of that meditation, I continued to see all those forms of the Lord as if they were right before my eyes. Due to this, my mind became peaceful. Therefore, when I saw Bhagavan's beautiful form, or when I engaged in my chanting, which had completely matured, I spontaneously experienced great joy. Nevertheless, whenever I chanted my mantra, I would also become distressed at heart and tormented by feeling of separation from the sweetness of Vrindavan. In Samadhi, my mind would enter a state of deep absorption. It became an obstacle in my chanting and an obstruction to my seeing the indescribable form of the Lord. Therefore, I would simply weep. I long to go to Nilachala to see Sri Jagannatha. The great sage there consoled me with sweet words and inquired about the cause of my discontent. When I described my feelings of distress to them, they praised me highly because I could not understand this, those very words of commendation become. On the strength of my practice of meditation, I would see Sri Jagadishwara within and without as if he were directly before me in all his various forms that I had seen before. Sometimes I would observe that when Sanaka and his brothers were deeply absorbed in meditation on Sri Bhagavan, They would assume form similar to the form of the Lord they were meditating upon. I became supremely elated to see their dedication to their practice and the level of their absorption, which reflected the power of their meditation. Even when Sri Sanaka and his brothers were not visible to forms of Bhagavan, the hope of seeing these manifestations again kept me from becoming disconsolate. Thus, I stayed there happily for many days. Once Sri Brahmaji, mounted on a swan, went to Pushkara Vipa to mercifully grace the devotees with his darshan. On the way, he stopped in Tapoloka. Wow. See, Brahma on his trip to Pushkar Vipa. He stopped in Tapoloka. When Sanaka and others sages saw that the venerable and supremely opulent Sri Brahma had arrived, they reverently bowed down to him and worshipped him with great devotion. So, we will continue Monday from here. This is amazing. See how Gopakumara, by the power of Gopal mantra, is traveled. Whatever he desired, this one point chanting of this mantra. But these realms are still material. Uh, let us pray. Vancha kalpatarupyacha kripasindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. That was pronounced everybody. Sorry for this.